Hi guys, it's Monk2 here, and today we're going to do the Davy Jones Dockyard After Action Report. This is when we are going to, do a condensed version of the Davy Jones Dockyard, which is on Hive's channel, which we'll give a link below, of course. This is a nice condensed version for those who, maybe missed the stream or just want a shortened version. And, any of these topics that we've covered here, you can watch in this one. If you want to go more detail, we covered them in a lot more detail in the actual Dockyard podcast itself in Hive's channel there. Hive is with us today. We don't have our special guest with us this time, but maybe in future episodes we do. So that'll be interesting to see. And yeah, we'll get ourselves started, start right off the bat. So our topics we're discussing today is tier 8 ships. Just a quick summary of the tier 8 ships that we believe to be coming out. We've got the tier 7, tier 6 money-making tiers, or what's going on in this debate discussion there. We've got Wilter builds, gripes like that, discussions that were, the issues we have are currently plaguing the game, and yeah, we'll get to one. So, Mr. Hivehound, you can introduce yourself if you're ready, sir.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I am the Hivehound. There's only one of me, fortunately, some might say, and I'm. I've been a community contributor for what, 3 years now? 2 years? 2 years. It's been a while, too long, far too long. And I've been producing content on YouTube and obviously something that's spawned out of many different random conversations. The Davy Jones Dockyard with my co-host the Monk was born. So
just randomly capped in and it became a thing. Yeah, it's really quite good. I'm quite enjoying it myself, and a lot of the people want to join in as well. A lot of the CCs are quite enjoying it as well, so that's always good news. And the first podcast and the inaugural one is gotten some good feedback. So yeah, see what we can do about this, and you can move on. Anyway, sorry, let's move on. Tier 8 ships. So, how do you want to start off with the Russian line?
Yeah, right. So obviously we're on to our third teaser now, released by Wargaming for the tier 8 ships. We pretty much got them all in the first trailer, but as the teasers have come out, they've been more and more clear. Yeah, I'd be extremely surprised if what we think they are aren't what they are. So I'm going to start off with the Russian line. So after the Vladivostok, we're going to see the Sovietsky Soyuz join in as the tier 8 battleship. After the Chapayev is going to come the Dmitry Donskovoy, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I do apologise. That is pretty evident for its really sort of pronounced super firing turrets on the front. And the last one, which some people contest, but people who contest are wrong, and it's actually a tier 10 on PC, which is the Denley. So that's a twin turreted destroyer. Reason that makes it a Denley is actually a tiny detail you could only see in the first video, where you see a single large caliber gun, and only the Denley out of all of that class of destroyers has a single 150mm gun, which you don't get to fire. It's part of your AA suite. So that's going to be interesting.
A 150 gun for AA. What is that? Weird. Sorry. So just to highlight again, the Sovietsky was more of a chunky icebreaker heavy battleship, not really a battle cruiser. The Dmitry Donskovoy was a light cruiser, isn't it? Yeah. And the Delhi is more of a gunboat, I believe. I could be wrong with that.
Yeah, it follows the same sort of general gunboat principle that the Russian DDs have.
So for the Japanese, we have the battleship Izumo, which is more like a Nelson configuration. You've got the triple turrets at the front, 16.1-inch guns, the typical Japanese format, and kind of like almost a Yamato hull, but not the same, a little bit different. Very interesting to see. I can't wait for that one. We've got the Ibuki coming up, which is basically like a chunky Mogami, a more armored Mogami, similar gun scheme, probably the same torps, or a little bit more different maybe.
It has the same gun layout as the Mogami, the same amount of guns as the Mogami. It's just more heavily armored.
Yeah, and then we've got the Yugamo, which has got again, we're discussing reloading of the Yugumo in a stream bit more detail, but it's got about a 6-second base gun reload, so more of a torp bolt. But we'll have to see more details about that. What it's going to be getting the Legends treatment. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So
it also,
it is a torp boat. It is definitely a torpedo boat, but its guns are a lot more capable than that of the Kagero. So it's got some kind of defense, albeit not a great one.
Yeah, and then we've got the Germans coming up there. I know we kind of zap through this, but again, this is the nature of this one. If we're trying to be quick with these things, it's intentional. So we've got the German line here. We've got the Friedrich de Gross, which is basically the middle child between the GK and the Bismarck, and it's going to have characteristics from both of them. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, it has the GK accuracy. That was a bit more. That's a hope, you know. You never know. But yeah, we've got that, and then we've got the Rune, which has been obviously the only one that's actually 100% confirmed. Which is a heavy cruiser, and it's gonna be like it's like a Prince Eugen on steroids, my guess. That's my assumption. We'll have to see. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's almost getting into like battle cruiser territory, I think.
Yeah, like almost Alaska, but not there, sort of thing, you know. And then we've got the Z46, which is essentially the Tier 7 variant, the Z23, but with the 128s, but a lot more. You've got 3 dual turret 128mm guns, so it's kind of a pretty fast fire rate. It's obviously got the German sonar. It's pretty quick as well, and they've got a relatively fast torp reload. So think of it an upgraded version of the Z23, and you shouldn't be too far off. But remember, not the 150s, the 128s this time. Purpose. So
but you get 6 of the 128s as well, which is quite a chunky armament for.
That'll be pretty darn spicy in terms of the gun department. We'll see. And then we've got the Americans, and so we'll go. This is a weird one there. I'll leave this for you.
Why? Okay, so Buffalo. Everyone, I think anyone who thinks it's not the Buffalo at this point, probably needs to be shot. In all fairness, so we won't talk about it anymore. It's the Buffalo. There's nothing else it could be. The Destroyer is actually really interesting in the fact that the Destroyer is gonna be a unique ship. It's a Alan M. Sumner class DD, which there is one on PC, but it belongs to the Pan Asian line of destroyers. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. It's the predecessor of the Fletcher class. So it comes in between the Fletcher and Gearing, so it's perfectly suited tech tree like wise to fit in between, you know, our current tier 7, which is the tier 9 as the Fletcher.
Weird one.
And the Gearing then at tier 10. So yeah. And also, so this is the one ship that nobody is 100% about, which is the battleship. So the hull is very clearly a fast battleship hull. So the hull. So
it's not going to be like a Kansas or Vermont.
No,
right?
No. There's no thick girls coming this time.
No, it's strictly Iowa.
If you want a chunky boy, go for the Savesky Soyuz. But yeah, so it's either an Iowa class hull. If it's an Iowa class hull, then it would most likely be the Illinois or Kentucky, which were the 2 that were never built, because that'll allow them to make some minor adjustments to it, which would make either a unique ship 2 Legends, or the other option is that it could potentially be a Montana hull, but toned down, so possibly the Maine. But again, that would actually be a unique ship to Legends as well. So that's 2 unique 2 ships that we can point at the PC community and wave from whilst laughing at them, because look what the console peasants have.
Yes, just to highlight as well, the Buffalo is kind of like a mix between a Baltimore and a Cleveland. You've got the same amount of guns as Cleveland, but you've got a Baltimore gun caliber. It's a very strong boat as well. The new battleship and destroyer potentially is going to be a whole new different kettle of fish, and that'll be very interesting to see. And yeah, we're getting close to time, so we'll go to the next topic here. Tier 7 and Tier 6, with the new patch, Tier 7 has improved money making for the premium ships. What's the number again? 53%?
So it's gone from 15% bonus to a 55% bonus.
55%.
So
yeah, so that's a sizable increase.
40% increase in revenue for Tier 7s. But the question
for
is...
the premium.
Yeah.
Right, just for the premiums.
Just for the premiums. They have lowered the service costs as well, which kind of helps a little bit. But like Tech Tree Tier 7s are not money makers. It's the premiums that are the money makers.
Unless you get a good game, but even then, the premiums will just outperform, especially if this new change. So the main question really is posed is, what's the money making king? Is it still Tier 6, or is Tier 7 really creeping and approaching on that territory? We just, yeah.
I done quite a bit of testing on this. I recorded the details from like 40 matches, and then averaged out the XP, averaged out the credit earned, and on average 60,000 credits more for Tier 6. And this is because when you play Tier 7s, so if you have a good game in a Tier 7, you do make massive amounts of credits. It's really good. But when you're up against legendaries, like sometimes you're just not quite in that position to have a really good game. Whereas Tier 6 is a lot more consistent, and that's probably where the extra 60,000 comes from. It's just the consistency that, you know, if you're playing well, every game is going to be good in Tier 6. Whereas if you're playing well, every game in Tier 7 might not go your way because of
because the legendaries, you're saying, yeah, Tier 6 is also a bit more easier to play as well. The lower tier is generally the easier the gameplay gets, or at least the less stressful as well. Because with Tier 7 you fight some pretty crazy ships. With Tier 6 you're a bit more forgiving, and it's just a bit more. It's a bit less try-hardy, not to use a better term there, and it's a bit more relaxing, honestly. With Tier 7, I think the consensus is if you have a monster game in Tier 7, you earn more than a Tier 6 game. But just as Hive said there just 5 seconds ago, Tier 6 is just more consistent, and I think you'll get more from this. So Tier 6 is still the money grinding tier, but what this has done basically is Tier 7 campaign ships, which we all have a bunch of if you've been playing for a while, and you've been buying the campaigns, of course. That'll be very... You basically get a chance to break those win bonuses on them, and you really get to play them, you know, take them out from port for once in a while. That'll be pretty good, you know. So that's quite a good wee change, I think. Definitely for the
Gonna slide in a little spoiler alert. Tommy Boy managed to send me an image that you can see on the full podcast
in our stream. No.
Yeah, on the stream. On the stream, you can't obviously see it on the podcast. My bad. But there is another Tier 7 British premium cruiser that is not Belfast. 43. So yeah, we don't. Well, if you want to have a look at the image, go check out the full one. So we need to talk about our hang-ups.
Yeah. What are the biggest problems right now plaguing this game as things currently are? We discussed quite a few in the base podcast, but these are the main ones we kind of agreed on. First one, most prevalent, is will to rebuild. Will to rebuild is simply as it is. It's just unfair to play against, and it's a little bit too strong a legendary skill. It's just period. Is that, you know, you've got the infinite healing, you've got the passive traits, which basically give you a faster heal, but for more, which is always good. It's just better, and we've come up with a couple of solutions for it as well. Hive, you had a solution, and we actually had 3 different solutions.
We had 3 different, yeah. So I believe, if I remember rightly, yours was more of a one-off will to rebuild session.
A one-off heal proc. When you're under that health pool, you get a heal proc if you're close to your ally. That would be now.
I quite like Tommy Boy's suggestion of a hard cap of 50% of the ship's HP could be brought back by will to rebuild.
That would be nice. It'd still be somewhat annoying, but it wouldn't be infinite like it was before.
Yeah, at least then it has a limit. Whereas I had a slightly different suggestion.
I quite like that suggestion, honestly.
Whereas, obviously, a big problem with will to rebuild when it starts getting into the infinite health pool is the fact that the ship becomes damage saturated and you can't actually do any damage apart from setting fires. So if Will to Rebuild was changed so it repaired the damage saturated areas first, that would then allow the people shooting against the Will to Rebuild, it would allow them to do consistently more damage. And although Will to Rebuild still has its advantage, it's not as strong, because once that saturation point hits, it kind of ruins the engagement completely, because you can't damage them and their healing.
Yeah, for a prime example of this is like a Brandenburg or an Odin, where you've got ridiculously hard to damage notoriously, and they've got that black type superstructure, which means they take reduced damage from the superstructure. Again, just saying, I'm explaining these just in case people are unaware of this. So let's just say HE shell does 100 damage when this area is completely undamaged, and when damage saturation kicks in, when it becomes worse and worse, it progressively gets worse to a point where it can even get to 0 or 1 damage. So what Hive is suggesting here is repairing the saturated area, so basically means you take more damage from the superstructure than you did originally, but you do regain that health back. So say the Odin or Brandenburg, which are notoriously tanky ships, have 1,000 health and they're using Will to Rebuild, you land about 8 or 10 HE shells on an area that has been unsaturated because it was previously black. Now they take 100 damage per shell, and that's probably going to finish them off. So it actually makes them easier to finish off when they're low health, because they're healing up the saturated areas, so they take more damage rather than just having a fully saturated superstructure and just bouncing off the deck. Yeah. So it's pretty different.
But it still leaves the tactical ability to disengage and heal back up. So it just makes it more of an even sort of playing field.
You've got a cost for it as well. It's not just a pure net gain. It has tactical advantages over it, which is good, and it has a drawback, which is very valuable. I think that's very good. That's a very interesting cover, and difficult to implement, but it'll be really good to see. So yeah, we covered Will to Rebuild. We had old campaign ships, which was Tommy Boy was a guest on our podcast, just in case you haven't figured that out by now. And he was quite good in covering a lot of the topics. He was quite informative, and if you haven't already, go check out his channel as well. Yeah, quite fun YouTuber as well.
So the thought was not just anyone can go back and complete a campaign. So if you'd played in the campaign, you'd taken the Admiralty back in, because it's not explained very well, and it probably caught a lot of people out.
There was a lot in the stream who said that as well at the time.
You bought a campaign, you go back, and bizarrely I just got a new YouTube subscriber and it just flashed up in the middle because my widgets are still on. So thank you very much and welcome, John. And to be honest with you, I 100% agree with that. I don't think anyone should be able to go back, but you should be able to go back, and you should have the option to buy out the campaign, not sort of complete the campaign like the bureau missions where they go into that sort of old pot, and you can pull them back out as and when. But
a good example of this would be like say people who bought I think Blay, who was also a special guest near the end of it, highlighted he didn't buy the Turpitz campaign. He bought the Turpitz campaign, but he didn't finish it because he didn't understand the campaign. So, for example, Blay could go back and buy his way using the balloons to get the Turpitz again, assuming he paid Admiralty backing at the time the Turpitz campaign was out.
Yeah,
that's the idea of it, and just a clear example so everyone's understanding on the same page there.
And I think we all quite liked that idea.
That was a really good idea, I think. Yeah.
More detailed stats was something that was mentioned. This was from Blay, wasn't it? I believe.
No, that was Gherkin, Luckin Gherkin.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
He was also a special guest. We had 3 special guests. We had Tommy Boy, as we mentioned before. We had Mr. Gherkin as a member from the community, because we'd always want to doesn't always have to be a content creator who joins us on these streams. We'd more like to have feedback from the community.
Yeah, we're not
So,
precious. We're not elitist about our CC status. We're quite contented to speak with the plebs as well. I mean the regular player base.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so we had Looking Gherkin. His tip for tat was more detailed stats. He wanted to see, just in general, but just everything more detailed. And yeah. What were your thoughts on that at the time?
Well, I think eventually we got round to the idea, because both myself and Blay were kind of heading down the same path. Whereas where you've got your loadout screen, your stats screen, and armor viewer, then ship history, just pop a page of detailed stats on the end so everyone can look at their individual ships and see, see what they are. We did think there was a bit of an issue with this, because it would have to be like live updated all the time, and if that was too much of a problem, then they should just give access to the stats server, which they have. They have an area where they keep all these stats to the community, so someone like Father Monday can pull together a spreadsheet essentially, where everyone can just go and check their stats, like World of Warships stats for the PC.
Yeah. The big problem with that is we were hedging with stat sheeting problems that could pop up, and I had to play devil's advocate there as well, saying that the majority of the player base don't actually care about their stats. It's more the top 10%. So this feature is going to benefit 10% of your player base, and it's just unlikely to be implemented by Wargaming, unfortunately. Because you don't cater to 10%, you cater to the majority.
You cater to the 90%, don't you? Really?
Yeah, you're not going to cater to the 10%. Whereas occasionally you should. I think you should cater to people who are supporting your game. End of the day, because those 10% are pretty much guaranteed loyal people of the game. They'll promote your game, they'll continue your game, and they'll enjoy it as much as they can, and they will bring more people, and it'll that 10% is more than 10% in terms of contribution. But that's just that's a whole different gripe. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I think that's everything.
That about sums it up, and we summed it up in about half the time we did yesterday.
Yes, because we tried this, we didn't do as well, but we covered that. How long did it take us? Like half an hour? Something stupid.
It was
40 minutes.
Almost 50.
Oh my god, yeah. But alright, hopefully we'll try and get them shorter as you like, guys. If you like what you see here, honestly, drop a like, share it to your friends, let us know if anything you want changed, you want these to be longer, you want these to be shorter. Let us know. Comments to let us know what tier 8 premiums as well you would like to see. That was another topic as well. We didn't really discuss it this time, but just post a comment here. Or on Hive's the Hive's version of the podcast as well. Just post a tier 8 comment. What tier 8 ship do you want to see? I think one of the prime examples is Musashi. That's a good idea for tier 8. And yeah, we can take a look at this. Anyway, guys, like, share more. Go check out Mr. Hivehound as well. He is a hound. He does bite, but he's okay.
Bark is definitely worse. Definitely.
There we go. Anyway, yeah, guys. If you haven't seen it, that's all. I'll catch you all next time, and have a lovely day. Bye for now.
Take care.